Hi, everyone. We're going to present the environmental psychology final presentation. My name is Ziwei, and I'll start my part. Next slide. So what is environmental psychology? So from the definition, it is a branch that deals with the interconnection between the individuals and the natural environment. Further, the environmental psychology examines the influence of environmental concerns on human behaviors, experiences, as well as well-beings. Additionally, the study also includes the influence of human behavior on various environmental aspects. Next slide, please. So in questionnaire studies, information is obtained from a broad potential audiences directly or indirectly related to environmental concerns, which is often done in a independent environmental setting. And the information available through it has a high internal validity and the control of variable is possible. On the other hand, that type of information is artificial and have pretty low external validity. The simulation is also done in artificial settings, but the information obtained from it has very right balance between the external and internal validity. Further, that information has a realistic visualization, but contrary to this, the simulation studies require advanced equipment and skills that are often considered fictitious. The field studies are done in an artificial environment, and thus the practical visualizations are often not feasible. Further field studies often have access to information regarding limited environmental concerns. With that method, the information is replicable and has enough balance between the external and internal validity. And the last one is case study, which are often done in real settings, and thus the validity of such information is more in a more diverse setting, and the data obtained from such methods have very high external validity and are considered very rich data. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna briefly talk about the impacts. The information collection through the questionnaire as external validity of such information is quite high, which it helps in altering the attitude of people for positive environmental changes. And the information collected through the field studies, actually they are effective in informing humans about very different environmental concerns. And the field studies are often includes effective intervention plans. And the last one, the impact on information collected through simulation, which those information helps in establishing very dynamic human environmental relationships through which it becomes easy to evaluate future environmental develops. Thank you.
Then I will introduce the environmental perception. The definition of it is the process of individual processing environmental information, which an individual feels various stimuli in the environment and organizes them into a higher level psychological model on the basis of previous experience. Next, please. Then I will introduce the non-vision factors. Firstly, climate is the main factor in shaping cultural value and people's character. For example, living in a cool and mild climate, people are able to have better and comfortable environment to spend time investing new technologies because it will psychologically helpful for people to concentrate on their jobs. Second, I will talk about the height. Living on the grassland with low air pressure, and thin air will produce short-term effects on residents, such as enlargement of heart, increase of red blood cells, and increase of hammer concentration. Almost all of the developed cities are located in area other than high altitude. Next, please. Um, Additionally, extreme temperature can affect social behaviors such as health, aggression, and interpersonal attraction. If it is a rainy day, I will feel upset because I think my luck is too bad today. In this way, because of my mood, I even can't pay all attention to my work. Finally, color can affect people's cognitive behavior. Different colors can affect human endocrine system through vision, which can lead to the increase or decrease of human hormones and change people's mood. For example, there is a bridge in London, England. It was originally black. Every year, people came here to commit suicide. Later, the color of the bridge was changed to yellow, which reduced the number of people who came here to commit suicide by half, which fully confirmed the function of color. Next, please.
So, okay, today my topic is about the risk perception. So first one, what's the meaning of the risk perception? So individuals who make a personal risk judgment based on the experience gathered from the intuitive judgment and personal feelings from the external environment. And actually, the perception is the last key link of humans' response to external things, and it's a key factor of a series of emotional changes, cognition, and other psychological process caused by people's stimulation of external environment and things. And when individuals face a different kind of the risk, they make a different behavior and reaction based on the conditions. There are external environmental factors and variables will affect people's perception to sense it. So today I'm gonna talk about three main different groups of variables that influence people's risk perception. The first one is the voluntary and involuntary. So comparing to the involuntary risk, people can be more like acceptable with the voluntary risk because they can be more admissible to this knowing risk. Here have an example between the health risk and smoking. So we have a common sense that if you are smoking for a long term, you have a high possibility to get a cancer. But surprisingly, they are not too worried or nervous about this because they are underestimating the negative results outcome bring from smoking. They're already knowing the risk. And the people always overestimate the risk of events with a high probability and a low mortality. And they are underestimating risk of events with a high probability and a low mortality. The risk of immediate and one-off damage is overestimated, but the risk of long-term and latent damage is underestimated. Second one is about the familiar and unfamiliar condition. So for people, they will feel more safer under familiar and controllable condition. Things they have a more preparation and a comprehensive consideration when they encounter the knowing risk. And when people feel confidence and have a more controllability of the consequence of the event, they will focus more about the benefit because they want to get benefit from the conformity. But however, when they are not so confident and they have kind of like unconcerned factors of the event, they will be more care about the loss and how to avoid the loss and the negative impacts on themselves. The last one is about the man-made risk and natural risk. So actually for the public, they will be more acceptable with the man-made risk because the perceived risk of natural disaster is described by no benefits to humans and their total inevitability. They are low impact on humans and other species, and they are relatively easy to understand. And that is can connect it with the ripple effect, which means everything we do and think affects people in our life and their reaction in turn affects others. So when people and the public face to have a lack of information will cause a high nervous among them. And similarly, the channels through which people can receive the information, time sequence, and the way of information transmission all affects the risk perception of individuals. And that's kind of like a dynamic process. and that can be influenced by the risk communication, individual factors, nature of risk, and knowledge bases. And that is, next one, please.
Here goes the next slide. Okay, so people consume lots of energy every day, and most of the energies comes from our Earth, such as coal, oils, and so on. The resources can be consumed and finally nothing lasts. Now countries came out with some big plans to save energy, and as normal people, there's something we can do. So by properly planting trees around your house is a nice idea. According to an investigation, by properly planting trees, annual energy costs can decrease by up to 30%. And in urban areas, trees can also help to filter the air and moreover, lowering the urban temperature. And studies suggest that trees can save 10 to $10 to $35 per 100 square meter in 1 year. Next, please. Yeah, so, and in building, and inside the building, there's something we can do by adapting window film on for your window. Which could reduce heat, and by reducing the heat, we can use less AC, and that's like that's one way to save energy. And by installing skylight window, and there's many ways to install skylight window that in different area can generate the most profit to it. And installing LED lights and the sound sensitive control is also a great idea to help save energy. And the LED lights is 90% more efficiency than the regular light bulb. And there's some people that up to 90% of Americans left their lights on. So installing the sound sensitive control is also a great way to help them turn off the lights if they forget it. Next, please. There's now people consume almost 25% of our world energy is generated by green energy, such as sun panels and wind turbines. And there is one building, that's Pearl River Tower in Guangzhou, China. It is one of the most environmental friendly buildings on the world. It is designed for zero net energy consumed. So by installing wind turbine, solar panel, and the window film and LED lights, that's how he makes achieve his goal. And this is just a one step for this building design, but it's a huge step for human. Thank you.
After the Industrial Revolution, humans started to develop massive pollution in the environment. Too much pollution will bring adverse effects to the environment and also our life. Air and water pollution are the two most massive issues in the world now. Air pollution mostly comes from car emissions and chemical release from factories, forming a mixture of particles and gas in the air. Water pollution mainly comes from water polluted by toxic substance from chemical factories and the wastewater from people's daily lives, which mix with pure water with dust and metals. Those two pollutions are the most serious environmental issue in the world now. Next one, please. And water pollution will both result in a negative impact on the environment and human life. First, both of the pollution will harm humans' health. Air pollution will induce respiratory infections by destroying the respiratory system. The release of carbon dioxide will cause the Earth's atmosphere to trap more heat, which will lead to climate change. Water pollution will cause people's illness by drinking contaminated water. Moreover, water pollution will harm the marine environment. Marine debris is a type of water pollution. The trash in the marine is threatening marine animals. As we can see in the picture, a sea turtle is eating a plastic trash, which it cannot digest. There are lots of animals died from eating marine debris that they cannot digest in the past few years, which means that the water pollution is killing them. Next one, please. Sustaining the environment is an essential issue for humans in the generation, and people's awareness of protecting it is rising. Recently, governments enforced many policies to slow down the speed of pollution. In 2016, the United Nations assessed the Paris Agreement regarding to the climate change. The Paris Agreement is aimed to support developing countries by keeping them release less pollution from factories. Moreover, many governments
So here is our reference, and thank you for listening.
Sustaining the environment is an essential issue for humans in this generation, and people's awareness of protecting it is rising. Recently, governments enforced many policies to slow down the speed of pollution. In 2016, the United Nations assessed the Paris Agreement regarding to the climate issue. The Paris Agreement is aimed to support developing countries by keeping them release less pollution from factories. Moreover, many governments assess the policy of carbon tax. A carbon tax is a way to have users of carbon fuels pay for the climate change caused by releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Additionally, governments encourage the use of electric vehicles. Electric vehicles avoid direct emission to the environment, which can effectively prevent climate change from air pollution. Even though pollution still exists, we are trying our best to prevent and sustain the nature's beauty for the next generation. Thank you for listening.